absolutely. So welcome everybody, both our attendees and our panelists. I'm Daughter, I'm from the Zero Waste Network, and this is the third day of our very first Our Zero Waste World Digital Summit, and it's been going super well, and so thank you to everybody who's been taking part kind of near and far. The origin of the event was a conversation with the Zero Waste International Alliance, which we see some representatives here today. They were interested in holding one of their face-to-face events in New Zealand, and then the world totally changed, and instead we've all got really good at doing Zoom. So that's what we're doing again today, but it's an honour to have you guys join us from around the world. It would be really great when you introduce yourselves to tell us where you are, and that's quite exciting. We've had a couple of international speakers, and there is people who are producing video content that are getting uploaded to the Summit website daily, and there's people from around the world there too. I think we've got Tanzania and Indonesia and somewhere else, not New Zealand, as well as great ones from New Zealand as well happening on the website today. So I need to do some things like thank our sponsors, because it totally couldn't happen without them. So we have support from the Zero Waste International Alliance in terms of providing amazing people to come and talk to us, and also Gaia is giving us access to one of their panel discussions about anti-incineration. So thank you guys for that kind of support. But then we've also had some awesome organisations who've given us some money. And so that was Auckland Council, the Waste Solutions team, Waste Not Consulting, Envision Consulting, and Rothbury Insurance Brokers. And I'd just like to say thank you to those guys. We have like long-standing and interesting relationships with all of those organisations, and I highly recommend checking them out. We'll put some information in the chat, yeah, their support means that this event is completely free for people to attend, and it's, you know, an amazing opportunity for us. So thank you to all of our sponsors. So in terms of how the session's going to run, I'm going to pass over to Ruth, and she's going to be the moderator. Just some kind of quick how we're going to use the Zoom tool. Please use the chat if you have anything to comment on or talk to me about in terms of technical issues if you can't hear, or anything like that. Use the chat. You can also call me or email me. Otherwise we'll get you to use the Q&A function, which is on the lower Zoom menu at the bottom of your screen. We'll get you to use that for questions. So if you've got a question as the panelists are speaking, use that, type your question in. Panelists, please feel free to answer those in written form if you want to. Otherwise we can do some Q&A afterwards. The session is going to be similar to the one that happened yesterday morning, and we're going to have some kind of decent presentations from each of the presenters. I think that's probably enough from me, so I will introduce Ruth. And so Ruth is a zero waste practitioner with more than 25 years experience in recycling and composting program and facility development, outreach and technical assistance. She is the president of Zero Waste USA and is working with municipalities across the US to develop the social and physical infrastructure to achieve zero waste. So thank you, Ruth. Over to you.
Great. So I get the opportunity to introduce my colleagues in Zero Waste International Alliance. And so first up will be Pål Mårtensson. And Pål Mårtensson is a former municipal director of programs at Göteborg in Sweden. But since that time, he has traveled around the world and is an advocate for zero waste wherever he goes. I've had the fortune to be able to travel with Pål to all over the world, including in Italy, in India, and everywhere. And so we're really looking forward to hearing from Paul about his exciting travels and what he's been able to accomplish in the world of zero waste. So Paul, are you able to share your screen?
I will do.
Awesome.
I will do that. Just a minute. So it should be coming up here, I guess. Share. Okay, maybe we go this way here. We start from here. So
Perfect.
is it okay now?
We can see you.
Yes.
Yep.
It works. Okay. Yeah, my name is Pål Mårtensson. I'm from Sweden, and I am, like everybody else, on hashtag nowadays. As Ruth said, I've been traveling around for 10 years now in the world and taking photos of waste, which is a nice hobby to have. And I've seen so many great examples of zero waste, because I'm always advocating zero waste wherever I go. But I'm also working with a Let's Do It network, which is a cleanup organization. And I am actually director for Oceania, so I should go to New Zealand and meet the people there, because New Zealand is under my radar also, but I haven't been able to go there yet. So what we are doing are mainly cleanups, and you recognize this, the way it looks almost all over the world. All the beaches, all the rivers, even in the cities and wherever you go, there is waste everywhere. And that's why we actually decided to start to clean up the world many years ago. But we also introduced from the Let's Do It world, the World Cleanup Day, which was the first time we had it was 2018. And then it goes on from there on every third Saturday in September. And we had the first year about 20 million people we brought out on the World Cleanup Day, and they cleaned up the world as much as they could in 150 different countries. Let's Do It World is the largest active network in the world when it comes to environmental activities. The World Cleanup Day is one-day action, but we also have a lot of other actions going on. But the World Cleanup Day is like our flagship, and we are doing that as a manifestation for a waste-free world. So participate in a cleanup is something that is really nice to do, because you meet a lot of people and you start actually thinking about where does the waste come from, how did it end up here, and so on. So you learn a lot about it. And we also now doing a lot of brand auditing. It means that we are looking to each piece of trash that we find, and we see which company has made it and in which part of the world was it made, and so on. And then we categorize everything, and we make a name and shame list for the worst companies in the world. And then we send them a message. And this is something that's been going on for a couple of years. And if you want to learn more about it, you should look into Break Free from Plastics webpage, for example, where they are big at brand auditing. So Let's Do It World tackles environmental and social problems related to mismanaged solid waste. And we are mobilizing millions of positive-minded, action-oriented people. And we are using innovative technological solutions to deal with issues in more than actually 160 countries now around the world. And this is a picture of the top 10 countries 2019. So you can see Indonesia brought out more than 9 million people, Pakistan 2.5 million, and so on. So there is a lot of activities going on all over the world. And it's very easy, to make a cleanup and to organize it. And you can do it in many, many different ways. And you can go to our webpage. The address will come later, and you have all the material that you can download, and you can also look at the videos we have, so you can see how we can organize it in a very, very smooth way. And we are almost in all countries. There are a few countries we haven't managed to get into yet, but we are doing cleanups, we're also doing the brand auditing, and we are trying to also get all the data so we can see how much waste it is. For 2020, we had different formats we were working with because, you know, all that the pandemic has been very violent all over the world, and we cannot have these big cleanups which we are used to do. But we had the World Cleanup Day this year, and we also have individual cleanups because depending what country you were living in, you could not go out and you could not gather big groups and so on. And then we also introduced this year the digital cleanup, which means that you are cleaning up your electronic devices from digital waste, which is something people don't really think about. When you look into the digital cleanup, you understand that each pressing on whatever device you have, it has emissions, you know, and it costs for the environment. So you could be, you get a different awareness about how you use internet also, like we are doing now, of course. And we also have different campaigns. This year we had the cigarette butt campaign. You know, cigarette butts is the worst trash and the most common trash all over the world. And we also had a plastic bottle campaign, and we had a campaign about trash blindness. And trash blindness is in these countries where people are living, you know, in the trash more or less, and they don't see it anymore because they're so used to see it. They have it around their house and they have it around where they live. And then you do a cleanup and then they see the difference and so on. So we are trying to cure a lot of people from trash blindness and also give them some kind of awareness of the trash problem. And of course, digital cleanup comes back again in the campaign. And we are working also with this SDG. We're covering 9 of them. And I would recommend all of you to go to the SDG's homepage because they have 5 different lessons of sustainability and environmental knowledge. Each lesson takes about 45 minutes, and you really upgrade yourself with a lot of good videos and questions and discussions and so on. So you can go to SDG and look at their page. This is our page, worldcleanupday.org. If you go there, you have all the material. We are an open free network. Everything is for free. You can download whatever you want when it comes to the graphic profile, different materials, everything you need to print and so on. And working toolkits, manuals, how you do cleanups and everything. So everything is free and you get all the information there if you want it. And we need, of course, leaders, more leaders. And if you look at our webpage for your country, you have a country leader and you contact the country leader and he will guide you in what kind of cleanup you want to participate or if we need anyone in different areas and so on. We also have waste mapping, which is the official app we are using is Trash Out, which you take a photo and you report it to Trash Out, and then you have mapped the trash at a certain point and you can see where it is with the different coordinates, and you can go there and clean up, and you can also say that it's been cleaned. So it's not only that you report dumps, you also can clean them and you can report that they are clean. Waste Hunters is another app which is more fun to have as a competition between our friends, or if you are in the workplace or whatever, you want to have a competition or you want to do it by yourself, because Waste Hunters, you start it and it counts your steps and it counts how many pickups you've done and how long distance you've been walking. So this is mine. So you can see this is since April, I've made 345,000 steps and I pick up more than 100,000 different kind of litters, and the distance is 2,288 kilometers. So you get a lot of nice data there, which you can use for if you have a competition with your comrades or something like that. And here you also have different categories, so you can, there are 25 different categories, cigarette butts, straws, PET bottles, and so on. So you get all the data here, and it's a free app called Waste Hunters. And I want to finish this little session now and see if we can look at the video, which is about 1 minute. And this is from the 2020 cleanup. So let's see if this one is running now. I'll start it and see. I don't know if it's going to work, but I hope so. Seems like it does. Yeah. I hope the sound was good also. I guess it has to go through Zoom. That's why it takes a little bit extra time. Here it's coming. This year we were 11 million.
I think if you stop share of the PowerPoint and then share the video, we'll be able to see it. But I think we're not seeing the video yet. So are you able to stop share of the PowerPoint? Paul?
You could also share it via the chat if you send me the link, and people can watch it that way.
Okay. Are you there, Paul?
Yeah.
I don't think we're seeing the video because I think you have to stop share of the PowerPoint. You have to stop share of the PowerPoint in order for us to see the video.
You cannot see it?
No, you have to stop share. Stop
Okay.
share of this one and then show us the other one.
Okay.
All right, then you just share on the video link.
So
Or you can put.
It didn't work with the video. Okay, we skip
Okay.
it.
Yeah, put it in the link in the chat, and then
I will do.
Dorte can show it later. Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Well, Paul, thank you so much. That was amazing. We're so grateful for your work and all the steps and all the trash. You're going to pick it up all by yourself, the whole world, it sounds like. Did anybody have any questions for Paul that you wanted to put either in the chat or raise your hand? And we'll also be working on questions at the end. So one question that I have for you, Paul, Jamie, while you get ready to share your screen is the, in all of your travels, where are you seeing the most enthusiasm for zero waste and for overcoming trash blindness?
I think the biggest surprise I had was in Nepal, when I was in Nepal, and I met a guy who said that, yeah, I've been working a little bit with zero waste. And then he showed me a few examples, and we went to a hospital, and we went to a monastery, and we went to a school. And I was so amazed because they did it perfectly right from the zero waste point of view. And they were doing such a great job in this hospital. It was incredible. And they even took all the maternity stuff, when they gave birth, they put everything in a tank and made biogas out of it. And they had a separate colored hose where they took it into the kitchen, and they were cooking food for the people out of the biogas they made from this tank they had, where they had made all the biogas. So that was incredible to see. I did not expect that at all in Nepal, but it was really a great experience.
True zero waste mindset. Well, we will move on for now. Oh, Dorte, was
Sorry, Ruth. I just have a very quick question. Am I right in thinking that you need a World Cleanup Day leader for New Zealand?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
We need leaders. We need leaders. So Dorte, I sign you up.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone who wants, I will write in the chat box, and then we can see if we can get a few.
Awesome.
Leaders. Great.
All right.
So,
terrific.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Jamie Kaminski to welcome, and you can share your screen, Jamie, while I introduce you. So Jamie is the president of HSZ recycling in Canada, in British Columbia, and we are very excited. He's a leader in Zero Waste Canada and in Zero Waste International Alliance. And his company actually models and practices zero waste every day by working with businesses and customers to manage their recycling streams and help them reach their zero waste goals. So we have a real practitioner in our midst. So I asked Jamie to tell us a little bit about Zero Waste Canada and its mission and its work in certification and working with businesses and communities on zero waste. So welcome to you, Jamie.
Excellent. Thank you, Ruth, and great presentation, Paul. Yeah, so I would like to first take a moment to acknowledge that I am speaking to you from the city of Port Coquitlam, which is the unceded traditional and ancestral territories of the Coquitlam First Nation, which lies within the shared territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Katzie, Musqueam, Squamish, and Stolo nations. For those of you who are logged in from other countries around the world, the purpose of these statements is to show respect for Indigenous people and recognizing their enduring relationship to the land. So to start, I'd just like to talk about Zero Waste Canada and who we are. So Zero Waste Canada is the Canadian national affiliate for the Zero Waste International Alliance. So all of our policies and programs are reflective of the work we do with the Zero Waste International Alliance, and we bring that to Canada, and then we develop programs and policies within Canada for that, and we write papers. So some of the work that we do in Canada, so we do a lot of letter writing and commenting. So we comment to different municipalities about their programs. We comment different programs. For instance, lately it's been a lot about extended producer responsibility, looking and seeing how we can improve and make sure that those systems are working for what we want for zero waste and have zero waste policies embedded in them. We also help out other organizations that are working towards zero waste or that want to develop zero waste policies, come more in line with the international community and what we're doing internationally. One of the things that we've done aside from policies in the policy areas, we work with the Zero Waste International Alliance, helping them with their mission, with their vision and mission. So this was developed last year, and it's basically it's the heart and soul of what zero waste is. So a just world of vibrant, resilient, zero waste communities in harmony with nature. And the mission to work together as global community to drive systemic change towards zero waste using environmental and social justice principles. So you may look at this and see that there's a lot of words in there like social justice, community, and other areas that you don't always think about when you think about waste or zero waste, but really this is the heart and soul, and this just shows that zero waste is a lot more than just finding out where to put something or what bin to put it in or what to do with your waste. It really has a social justice aspect to it. Two of our core principles or policies that we use are the zero waste definition and the zero waste hierarchy that you see here. So the zero waste hierarchy, if you can see the top level, how there's a separation there, really shows that most of the zero waste activities, the activities that are really going to get you to your goals of zero waste are in that top tier. So the rethink, redesign, reduce, and reuse. So part of our mandate from the Zero Waste International Alliance was to develop programs as well. So it wasn't just advocating and doing activism in terms of countering things like incineration or other destructive disposal. It was about building solutions. So part of those solutions included a certification program. So we've developed a certification program for facilities, and that certification program has 4 levels. So an on-the-road status, basically anybody can reach on the road, basic its policies, understanding what zero waste is, also what it is not, and then working towards the certification levels of silver, gold, and then platinum. And each certification is a progression to the next level. So once you reach one level, you should be able to reach the next just by adding a few extra really important steps. So one of the organizations that started taking this journey, because the certification is quite new, it's only a few years old now. So one organization that we're quite proud of was Ernest Ice Cream. So they actually they were on the road last year. They're renewing their certification or working towards their certification level. But it's a fantastic ice cream shop, and they make their ice cream and serve it in reusable glass containers that they take back, and then they reuse them again. Their serving spoons are metal, so when you sample, it's a metal spoon that gets rewashed, so it's not disposable. They use a lot of reusable items when they're doing their systems in the back house. So, you know, reusable hair nets, things like that. And they try to source their materials locally. So they try and do seasonal ingredients, and really work towards what zero waste is all about. On the certification level, so it's not just facilities that we're looking to develop certification for. So there's also a mandate for us to develop in Canada a community certification. US is a little bit further ahead than us on this part, but we're looking towards developing a community certification. We also have an event certification, which kind of got put on hold with COVID because most events now are digital. So there's not a lot of waste created, or that we can really manage as an event. So one of the things we needed to do in order to make these certifications more accessible and more available was we wanted to make them self-reporting, so organizations could have someone internally learn how to go through the steps and work with their organization and report that information back to Zero Waste Canada for verification. So it's not self-verification, it's just self-reporting. So being able to go through the steps without having to possibly hire a consultant or someone external. And the way we're working on that is we've developed online training programs. So we've got the first program, I'm really proud to say, that we launched in July was completely digital. So it's online, self-paced. It's about 6 hours worth of content with a host of resources once you go through the course, and then you get a certification that's the fundamentals of zero waste. So it basically teaches you the basis of all our policies and the fundamental topics that we're always talking about through our presentations. From there, we have, so if you can see here, we've got one organization that went through our, we got one organization that went through our fundamentals program, and we're happy to hear that they really enjoyed it. And they are now operating a company that does mug exchange. So it's reusable mugs that they work with other organizations, and they exchange the mugs, and they're moving into other areas for reusables to have that reusable service system. So really taking the zero waste mentality and applying it to a business that they're starting up. So for the certification and the training, so we have the fundamentals program. So the one we're working on right now is called the Zero Waste Associates program. So that goes much deeper, and we're using it as a kind of a master's course for zero waste, which sustainability coordinators would be going through. So we have people signing up for it already. It's scheduled to launch hopefully next month. We're really working hard to get that launched. It again will be a self-paced course. So you'll be able to go through it, and you'll be able to take it at your own pace, take the quizzes, and in the end, apply that to a facility that you're working in or an organization that you're trying. If you're a consultant and you want to help them get through and go through the certification process, then you'll be able to do that. So because one of our mandates was also not just the certification, but the training aspect of everything, we work really hard to develop different types of training. So we have the fundamentals program and the associates program that's coming out, but we're also working with the community. So we work with another organization called Loopy Cafe, and they're an amazing cafe that really embrace zero waste. So to the point where they started off as a vegetarian cafe where they were serving vegetarian meals, but they actually decided after researching the supply chain, the food chain, that they needed to go vegan, actually, because in Canada we have quotas for our dairy, and they found that they wouldn't feel right offering anything that contained dairy because of the quotas that we have. And what the quotas do is it encourages overproduction of dairy in Canada. So there's a lot of wasted dairy that goes on because of that. So they've went vegan. They don't allow people to have disposable cups. They can't even bring them into their shop. They won't let them bring it into their cafe. They'll give you a reusable one that you can use, but they won't do anything with disposables. So it's a really fantastic organization. And when I talk about community and how Zero Waste Canada is working with them, is that they've approached us to put together a zero waste food prep course. So we're looking at putting together a zero waste food prep program where people that are working in the food industry can go through the process and understand what it is, what zero waste looks like from a food preparation standpoint, in terms of making sure that you're not wasting the food that you're preparing, locally sourcing your ingredients, and knowing your supply chain and where your food is coming from. Yeah, so that's my presentation, and I hope that everyone enjoyed it.
Great, Jamie, that's wonderful. And I just wanted to acknowledge that, all of the programs of Zero Waste Canada are available online through their website. And Dorte has included the link to the Zero Waste Canada website. You can do the online digital programming. And I believe, Jamie, you can take any of the classes from around the world. Isn't that right?
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah, great. I have a quick question, and then we'll open it up if others have questions for you right now. In your working with businesses on the road to zero waste, what have been the most difficult things for businesses to overcome to get to those first levels of the silver certification or otherwise? What do businesses have the most trouble with?
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's been a few areas that we've been that have been sticking points that we've had to overcome. So one of them was if they don't have a tracking system already, and their waste hauler or the person handling their recycling isn't able to provide tracking information, then getting them established with a tracking system and having them be able to monitor that frequently. That's been one challenge. And the other challenge, I would say, once you get through on the road to get to silver, is mostly the supply chain evaluation is a big piece of it. Having them go through the evaluation of understanding who their suppliers are, what they're bringing into their facility, and what each item means in sense of waste and how it's being used or not used and discarded. So those are part of the challenges, I would say, that we're finding.
There is a question about how to finance the programming. Can you talk a little bit about how Zero Waste Canada is funded and how it works in the terms of the certification program and training programs?
Yeah, no, perfect. So it was very challenging for the first few years when we started it up. There was no financing. So the organization that I'm president of, so HSR Zero Waste, so we shifted our resources to zero waste activities. We started consulting on the certification program, but really Zero Waste Canada's mandate was to open it up to other consultants and trying to get other consultants trained on board. So we made a partnership between HSR and Zero Waste Canada to be able to have that funding. So now we've got a whole team of us working on developing the programs, the training, the certification in that sense, and then also trying to keep the cost down. For instance, our fundamentals course is about $49, I believe. So it's quite affordable versus if we had to do it without that funding, we wouldn't be able to make it that accessible.
Great. Okay, Jamie, we'll move on for now. We'll take more questions later. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your leadership in Canada, and we will be right behind you, supporting your work and spreading it around the world. Our goal is to support people in other communities. We would love to get more national affiliates doing these kinds of training programs and certification programs. ZWIA has recognized Zero Waste Brazil, Zero Waste USA. We have a collaboration with Zero Waste Europe, and we are cultivating a relationship with Zero Waste Costa Rica to help them in their certification and training programs. So we, of course, welcome and would love to support communities around the world in this work. But we'll go ahead and move on then to Neil Seldman, and very excited to introduce Neil. Neil is one of the founders of Zero Waste USA. We were founded in 1996 as the Grassroots Recycling Network, and he has a long history in community development and zero waste. And he is based in Washington, D.C., which is a little bit of a difficult place to be right now. So we're glad that you're here in New Zealand with us, Neil. And I asked Neil to take us a little bit on a journey about producer responsibility and product stewardship. When we work around the world, we of course love the idea of a polluter pay, right? Pay for the pollution that they're doing. But there are some aspects of extended producer responsibility and product stewardship that potentially have a negative impact on recyclers and on zero waste communities. And so we really wanted Dr. Neil Seldman to give us a tutorial on the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Neil, and I'm going to share my screen because I have your presentation on board. So go ahead and kind of take it away.
Thank you, Ruth. It's a pleasure to be here in New Zealand and also on a panel with friends who I've been working with, as you'll hear in my presentation. Briefly, the Institute is 46 years old. We focus on decentralization of various sectors in the economy, including energy, finance, and broadband. I work on recycling, decentralized systems. My colleague Brenda Platt works on composting issues. We work literally across the US, but only in the US. We share information, of course, and in fact, in your part of the world, we work and stay in touch with Jerry Gillespie of ROTS, Return Organics to Soil, which is what we do with Jerry's help and others. We work from Baltimore to Hawaii. Those are projects that I work on with Ruth. We work on extended producer responsibility, and Jamie has been a tremendous help, as you'll hear from my comments. EPR is very timely. You may know that there's a bill in Congress that would establish EPR throughout our country in the form of EPR in which the local waste stream, recycling stream, would be turned over to the producer industries. I should say that there are written materials that you could, I will refer to and also send to Dorta and Ruth, where what I'm saying, you could read the articles and certainly correspond with us on it. We love to hear from people on our issues. The EPR bill, called Breaking Free from Plastic bill, has been presented in the House of Representatives, and it has very good things in it, but it also has this component that would turn over the sector to private industry, and the big private industry, the Fortune 500 companies. Ruth, if you could put, Ruth is now putting up a short piece I did on common terminology, which will help. Let me just give you one example on why common terminology is important. In Europe, the EPR system is built on bottle bills. In the United States and British Columbia, Canada, it's built on setting bottle bills in its targets to get rid of them and prevent new ones. It's a fundamental difference, and I would argue a distortion of the original concept of EPR coming out of Sweden in the mid to late 1990s. As you'll hear from my remarks, I believe that the term, which as Ruth pointed out is a terrific term and concept, make the polluter pay, but the term has been weaponized into an effort to have corporate policy on waste and recycling become, or to have, the force of law. And if I could just go back a couple of years in history, my contention is that the source separation system we have and the relationship with China was caused by the wrong infrastructure. That infrastructure is in question right now, but I just want to point out that in 1974, when I got started in recycling, 95, the year 2000, and the crash of 2008-9, all the headlines in the media, recycling has failed, recycling is dying. Each time recycling came back stronger. That's exactly what's happening with us right now. And this all leads up to why EPR giving it away to the corporations at a time when recycling is coming back in the United States would be a great tragedy. There's more paper mill investment in the United States since the China debacle. There are reasons for that. We now have minimum content laws coming online. Just the other day, excuse me, just the other day, the repair law passed in Massachusetts. The right to repair is very important for the development of the reuse industry in the United States, which is labor intensive and value added intensive. The other things going on, distributed composting is happening throughout the country, big cities, small cities. Distributed composting means that you start at the bottom, backyards, communities, schools. It's all happening. And finally, let me say product stewardship, which is a form of EPR, which means that corporations that are causing the pollution pay for it. They don't take over the system, they just kick in funds based on the damage they're causing with their products and packaging, much as Pal described on the cleanups. And we don't want that, but we do want the companies to take responsibility. And product stewardship, which is practiced in Canada, means that the companies pay into a fund, but that fund goes to existing cities and counties and small businesses to shore up recycling and build the infrastructure that we need. Right now in Maine, one of our states, there is a bill which would create a product stewardship system. For reasons I don't know, the media reports it as an EPR bill. Same thing is happening in Ontario, Canada. Other things that are happening, bans of products, landfill and product bans, the push for a national bottle bill. In fact, our colleague Portia Sinnott, I believe it's S-I-N-O-T-T, working with Ruth and Ruth's colleagues, have produced a curated manual of all the new rules that have been passed at the local level. And that's why we want to keep things at the local level, because the local level, you have a radical approach to the problem, meaning you're going to the root cause. And I would argue that the federal government owes it to cities to provide this infrastructure on recycling at this critical time. Local governments know what they're doing. They're short of resources, certainly. Same situation back in the 60s when we had to put in tertiary water treatment in the United States. Well, the federal program was created. Hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent and continue to be spent on making sure that cities and metropolitan areas have clean water. There was no Clean Land Act at the time. And as a result of that, for reasons that are explained in the references I'll point to at the end, private industry not only took over landfills from the public, but they monopolized them. It's an old story which has been told many times, but my industry contacts, which are extensive, point out that without monopolies in the waste sector, the cost of recycling and waste management would be down by at least 1/3. And that extra 1/3 is the monopoly price we meaning the public and private businesses pay for allowing monopolies. I just point out that vertical integration of solid waste companies is very profitable, but it's not more efficient. Local and regional haulers are far more efficient than national haulers. And right now is the time for the feds to make up for their mistake by not protecting public landfills 50 years ago. You may know now that, because of the China debacle, the price of recycling in the United States has virtually doubled. It's about $120, $130 a ton. And that's because private investment in MRF processing, in recycling processing, is going to shore up an inefficient system, which is based on what I call sloppy recycling, single stream. It's based on long distance transportation of very low value material, mixed recyclables, to go to mega facilities owned by the big giants that are very inefficient. They can't even recover glass, which is 20 to 25% of the waste stream. So for all these reasons, the investment that industry is providing in processing and collection is going in the wrong direction. And it's hundreds of millions, billions of dollars that's going into this. And it will be a tragedy if this is the pattern for the next few years in the United States. We need decentralized facilities. We need decision-making at the local level. The US citizens, organized citizens, and small businesses created the recycling movement in the late 60s. They were joined by the anti-garbage incineration movement in the 1980s. And as Ruth pointed out, in 1995-6, we have the zero waste movement. And all three are combined. They form a wonderfully integrated thread of people who are networking, small businesses as well, who need help because of the monopolies keeping them out of competition. I want to, getting close to the end of my presentation, and I certainly look forward to presentations, but to questions. Let me just repeat something that our colleague Paul Connett has said many times: trust people, don't trust corporations. And this is particularly true because the EPR bill, which I'm speaking of in the US Congress, says it can trust an oil plastic industrial complex that has lied about the impact of global warming of its activities, is expanding the incineration of plastic in any city that they can find, plans to expand virgin production of plastic in the United States. Exxon alone is putting in about $350 million. And they're making arrangements in Africa for plastic waste dumping. I say this is an industry that should not be trusted, and there's no need to it because the EPR bill, the Breaking Free Plastic bill, if it would just take out EPR for PPP, products, paper, and packaging, and use product stewardship to get funds from the polluter to pay for a tremendous economic and environmental advantage over the next decades. I'll point out that the current recycling industry, which the United States is at 35%, we've been there for 10, 15 years for reasons we could discuss, has about 1 million workers, 60,000 businesses, 40,000 government programs, paying $350 billion in wages and collecting $35 billion in taxes. This is an industry that's bigger than the auto industry in the United States. We're at 35%. If we could remove the fetters that are put on us from the big corporations, if we could get the federal government to start funneling money to local government where people have access to government and change policies regularly, that is where growth is happening. And if we could go in 5 years from 35% recycling to 70% recycling, all of these numbers will be expanded tremendously. And in closing, I want to say that the Institute, my work, Brenda's work, has been instrumental in combining recycling and local economic development over the years. And years ago, everyone was saying recycling in the United States is based on a 5-letter word, China. Brenda Platt threw out, no, it's local, L-O-C-A-L. And that is happening. The grassroots has shown that it's economically efficient, socially efficient, and environmentally efficient to invest in what we have and don't replace it. Finally, the waste in the United States is tremendous. It's tremendous all around the world, but for every ton of material we have in our waste stream represents 72 tons of waste that was created in producing our waste stream. And as we recycle, all of that comes down, and we have to keep on reducing it. We have to keep on working at it. And I believe if people like us collectively, recyclers, composters, reusers, were in charge of policy in 5 years, the United States would have a 70% recycling rate. And thank you for your time.
Neil, that was great. We have a few questions for you in the chat and in the Q&A. So let's just take the time to talk about those a little bit. We wanted to ask you about the benefits and challenges of a state and federal system for getting useful regulation, legislation systems happening. We don't really have that in New Zealand, the asker is saying, so we are keen to understand if it makes it harder to create change at, state, federal, et cetera.
Yeah, we believe that progress from down up is much better than any other form because it's permanent. It fits in with the social, economic, and environmental needs. And for the last many years, certainly with Trump in charge and even before that, it's been impossible to get the federal government to do anything. So we've been rewarded by a lot of attention at the local level where you can make change. In fact, I just wrote a piece recalling Cliff Humphrey's work early in the 60s. At the local level, you could move mountains. I won't go into detail, but my approach would be start at the local level, and you need people who give you an example. We want to get composting going all over, and very practical reasons. The DPW say composting is great. Let's have our businesses compost. They start composting, and the Department of Health tells them to they can't do it because of ABC. We need people who say, okay, if that's a problem, how are we going to fix it? We don't need people to say it's a problem and you have to do something else. And that is the way the things get handled at the local level, because citizens are looking over the shoulder of the DPW and of their city and county councilors and representatives. And that's why you have this preemption movement at the state level, California among them, where the lobbies from big companies, in this case Pepsi-Cola, came in and said, we want a law saying that cities can't increase the sugar taxes or they can't increase packaging regulations. And they got that exemption. That's happening all over the country. The EPR formation in the breaking free from plastic would be a preemption of everything and giving it away. So my advice would be start at the local level. When you run into a state or provincial problem, deal with it head on. Of course, you have to network with all your communities. We need a lot of cities saying the same thing, cities and counties saying the same thing. And then I would go up the ladder. There's not to go on too much further, there's a concept in Catholicism called subsidiarity. You take care of any problem you can at the local level, and then if you can't do it, you go up. That's the way we should approach recycling. A long answer, I'm sorry.
I wanted to share Neil's link to Neil's paper that is in the Waste Dive on how to talk about EPR, product stewardship, and minimum content policies. And Neil, we'll put a link to that in the chat. But it kind of unpackages somewhat complicated issues, because at the most basic level, yeah, we want these people to take care of all this trash. On the other hand, it tends to undermine that local responsibility and other things. So I will stop sharing that for a minute just to see if there are any other questions for Neil. Let's see. We have a question from Rick Anthony to you about talking about more decentralized approaches, if you wanted to get that a shout out.
Well, it's always great to hear from Rick, one of our close colleagues. Rick, Ruth, and I, and Gary Liss, who I understand will join us shortly, all worked together on our project in Baltimore. And we did not come in as professionals and say, this is what you should do. We got our fingernails dirty and dug into the compost piles and talked to citizens. And we came up with a plan guided by citizens called the Baltimore Fair Development Zero Waste Plan, which is online. And I think that outlines our decentralist approach. We think cities should have their own composting facilities and processing facilities to keep the scale proper. The cities don't have to run them, but they should own and contract out if that's the way they used to do things. We think cities should investigate pay-as-you-throw, distributed composting, and of course, work with your state to get to state level activities such as minimum content, bottle bills, bag bans, although bag bans can also happen at a city and county level. The tools for the city, I think I'll say this as an old-time professor. I would conclude that in the last 50 or 60 years, the grassroots has presented a unique opportunity of solving a national, global problem at the local level. Very few things are like this have happened in the last 50 or 60 years. It's economically efficient, but it is going to be drowned out by monopoly and government over interference, if you will. That's my interpretation of a national EPR bill. The opportunity is so great and the investment is so modest. And I'll also say solid waste is the easiest environmental problem we have to solve. If we can't solve a problem where the stuff we're dealing with is in people's hands every day, at work, at play, wherever, if we can't solve that problem, solving all our other problems, which are more severe, in my opinion, nuclear and et cetera. So this is it. And the Breaking Free from Plastic bill is that great opportunity. Right now, I would say it's not freedom, it's a surrender. But we're going to work on changing it. And I must say, a lot of people on this call were meeting with the congressional people, and we're working on it. So start at the ground and go all the way to the top.
Thank you, Neil. Okay, I think we'll leave it there for now. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and do a around the world tour of zero waste in 8 minutes. So here we go. And then joining us in a few minutes will be Gary Liss, and he'll kind of round out our session. And I think we'll have more time for questions and answers at the end. So here we go. You give me a thumbs up. Can you see the screen? Zero waste cities around the world? Yep. Okay, good. All right. So as Jamie explained, Zero Waste Canada, Zero Waste USA are a part of a worldwide network called the Zero Waste International Alliance. And it is a grassroots oriented organization, but we are in touch with people around the world who are doing exactly these types of things that Jamie spoke about. So I'm going to give you a tour of zero waste cities, because as Neil explained, it's at the local level where we think that the most can be done in the area of zero waste, both in terms of demonstrating zero waste policies, programs, and practices, implementing things at the hyper-local level, household level, business level, city level, and can be a model for provincial, regional, and federal legislation. So we've definitely seen that here in the US, cities leading the way to zero waste. So I'm going to cover for San Fernando City in the Philippines, Kapaneri in Italy, Goulburn Milwari Council in Australia. And if you heard Jerry Gillespie yesterday, he has probably alluded to this program. I'm going to talk about Alameda, California, USA, where I am speaking to you from. We're going to talk about Kamakatsu, Japan, and Trivandrum in India. So first of all, San Fernando City. Mother Earth in the Philippines is one of our organizations that we work closely with in Zuia, and they are modeling communities on the road to zero waste. And San Fernando City is one of those communities. In San Fernando City, they are divided into barangays, 59 barangays, and barangays are basically neighborhoods, and it's at this hyper-local level, at the neighborhood level, where people are practicing zero waste, both in terms of segregation of materials, collection, and even processing of materials within a neighborhood. This city has been working towards zero waste and achieved 78% diversion in 2017, and they are continuing to be a model for cities around the Philippines and in the entire region. And they have exported their approach to zero waste to other communities around the region. They are a model for decentralized collection. as Neil referred to, at this hyper-local level, the neighborhood level, that's where the materials are aggregated. So you can see here, this is a neighborhood recycling center. There are also neighborhood compost facilities, which we've visited, and they are managed by the neighborhood. They are managed by workers that live in the neighborhood, and it is a way of generating zero waste culture and community. A couple of other ways that they generate culture and community are through eco-friendly schools. They have an extensive school outreach and education program because, you know, of course, young people are our future. And zero waste youth. So we work internationally with zero waste youth, and in San Fernando City, they also have a zero waste youth orientation. They have a big conference among zero waste youth. And we think this next generation of people who, you know, they want to make sure that us, you know, older folks are doing the right thing, because we're going to be needing to rely on them for our future. We've taken up too much of our resources worldwide, and we need to give it up to the next generation. You heard, if you were on the line yesterday with Enzo Favoino, you heard a little bit about the work of Zero Waste Europe and Zero Waste Italy. We are excited to collaborate with Zero Waste Italy on a number of programs. Over 300 municipalities in Italy are working towards zero waste and working on it in a very serious way. The one I want to talk about is Capanari in the province of Lucca in the region of Tuscany. And when we visited them, you will not find a more beautiful hamlet in the mountains in Tuscany. You know, so they're very lucky to be where they are in this beautiful environment, and they want to preserve it. We met with the municipal officials there, and we toured around and saw their systems. They are on a 90% to 95% diversion rate at this point, which is really amazing. They began their work, they achieved 85% in 2014 and have since moved on to 90%. They were the first city in Europe to declare a goal of zero waste. And they are modeling that through some very practical approaches, including zero waste you know, restaurants and zero waste grocery stores. And you can see an example of a zero waste grocery store here. This is Rossano Hercolini. He is the chairman of Zero Waste Italy and Zero Waste Europe. He's here at the Zero Waste Research Center, which they are using to really understand what's still in the residual, what is still going to the trash, and what can they do to design it out of the system. They identified diapers, which they call nappies, they identified shoes, and they identified another item, coffee capsules. So coffee capsules were a big material that still is in the residual waste in Capanari that can't be recycled or composted. So they wrote to Lavazia, the biggest producer of coffee in Italy. They have responded with a reusable coffee filter and a compostable coffee filter. So a little city, a little community like Capanari has a big impact. You may have already heard about the soil to city to soil program in Australia. This was a pilot that began in the Goulburn-Morley Council, and they have that is located in the Southern Tablelands region in New South Wales. And they are, this is an outreach program to explain to the general population how their actions in terms of separating their organic material has a direct impact on soil, health, and impact to the farmers. So that education program is what that is about. It focuses on soil management, not on waste management. So when we put out the materials in our wheelie bins, we are thinking about the fact that this organic material is ultimately going to a farm, and it ultimately is going to be used to, you know, to grow our crops that we will then eat. The program engaged the community, reduced compost contamination, supported local farmers, and actually reduced costs. Here are the city to soil results. They reduced contamination by 40%. They provided a cleaner quality compost product to farmers, and the compost increased agricultural yields by 82%. So we're wasting our food if it goes to landfills and incinerators. In fact, we could be putting it on the farms and having it used for growing our crops and growing our soil. And the net cost for processing were 50 to 70% lower than landfills. This is my own city of Alameda, California. This is where I'm speaking to you from. If you see my background, this is Alameda Beach in California. We are a city of 75 population. We are an island city on the coast of Oakland, across from the San Francisco Bay from San Francisco. And we are an island. And so therefore we are very impacted by sea level rise. We are going to be impacted by the impacts of climate change. And so we ask everyone to do their share to reduce those impacts. This is Alameda today. This is Alameda with 1 meter of sea level rise, 2 meters, starting to get bad, 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters, and you can see our city is underwater. So we're asking everyone to do as we want to do to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. We identified in our climate action plan that zero waste initiatives could reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 58%. And so we focused on zero waste in Alameda. We have a community-based approach through the Community Action for a Sustainable Alameda, which is our NGO, our non-government organization that works closely with the city in partnership to implement the zero waste plan and the climate action plan. We have door-to-door separation, what we call in Italy, porta a porta, and we achieved 79% diversion in 2017 on the road to zero waste. We have worked on approaches such as social marketing. Miss Alameda is a local celebrity here. She ran for Miss California in 2010 on the platform of compostable organics out of landfills. She did not make it to Miss California or Miss USA, but she is our local celebrity that works with restaurants and others locally, multifamily buildings to reduce waste and increase composting. We also, like the city of San Fernando, city in the Philippines, have a Green Schools Challenge. We have banned plastics from restaurants. Plastics cannot be distributed by our restaurants here. They must either use compostable fiber or reusables. And this is our young people who are the next generation, also in Alameda as well. They worked on a project with the boba tea producers, who boba tea is a very popular drink in Alameda. It has little tapioca balls, and it usually comes enrobed in plastic. So this is our solution in Alameda, the reusable boba tea drinks. We're going to move on to Kamakatsu, Japan. This is a little rural town which declared a goal of zero waste, specifically to avoid the siting of an incinerator. And the residents there sort their materials into 45 categories. And it's amazing. Organics that is processed on at-home digesters, and they have very little waste. This is Akira, who is a local leader there and participates in our international work. She is training people in the town on the concepts of zero waste and what they can do at the local level. My last example will be from India. Rick Anthony, the chairman of Zero Waste International Alliance, and Paul and I were there last year, and it was an amazing trip to see what was going on. Swachh Bharat mission is the Clean India mission, and it's based on the principles of Gandhi, which are the simple life. Zero waste is all about the simple life. And so we're not teaching anything new when we talk about zero waste. These are really long-term concepts. This is what we want to avoid, trash in the street. You can see a little bit of trash blindness going on. This is from Delhi. This is Rick and Shabu Nair, who at the time was his acolyte back 15 years ago when Shabu came to Berkeley for zero waste training. And now I say, the student has become the master. We were impressed with what they've accomplished in Kerala. Kerala is the state in South India that is a zero waste model, and they have a disaggregated system for composting and recycling and zero waste. They have a 1 million population, 250,000 households, and 50,000 households manage their organics on site. Here's some examples of their composting applications and their digesters that they have at the household and business level. Here is their zero waste store. Oh, no, this is their compost and recycling center, which they have at bus stops around the city. These is, if you cannot compost at home, you can compost at a bus stop. And it produces rich soil amendment that can then be used on farms. This is some of the discards, shoes, and luggage that is recycled off-site. And the Organics Bazaar is the zero waste store where Shabu has showed us some of the things that they are doing, and he received his inspiration from the Berkeley Ecology Center. So that is the Round the World tour. I think I heard that Gary has now joined us. So in the interest of time, I wanted to go ahead and introduce Gary Liss. Gary Liss is a zero waste practitioner and has been working with communities on zero waste for over 40 years. He is on the board of the Zero Waste International Alliance and Zero Waste USA, and he has documented resource recovery parks, which are another form of disaggregated, addressing materials in a disaggregated fashion at the hyper local level. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Gary, for your presentation, and then we'll take some questions at the end.
Great, thank you, Ruth. I'm getting the screen share going. Can you see that?
Not yet.
How's that?
Nope.
Nope.
Not yet. Oh, there you go. We see it now.
Okay.
Take it away.
And you can see still see it?
That's good.
Great. Okay, so I'm glad I caught the tail end of your presentation, Ruth. Fabulous job. One of the components that we've been advocating for in Zero Waste USA and ZWIA and other locations is the idea of a resource recovery park. The definition is basically co-locating reuse, recycling, composting activities for receiving materials, processing them, manufacturing them, and sales. And we look at them as similar to airports or shopping centers. At shopping centers, you have a couple of major facilities, major stores that attract people to come to the facilities, and then you have a whole bunch of smaller stores that are able to survive because of all that traffic that's coming there. So that's one concept, and airports is another. That airports are a great example of a public-private partnership, where in many cases the public entity has acquired the land for the airport and then rents it out to airlines, to stores, to hotels, a whole variety of purposes. So when you put those two models together and apply it to our industry, you'll find the concept of resource recovery parks developing. And we see this naturally evolving at transfer stations and landfills around the world in one form or another. So we're saying if it's naturally evolving, there's an economic reason for it to happen. Why not design for it and maximize the benefits of doing that? And part of the benefits are for the public. They can bring all their materials on their pickup truck to the location. People who've gone to a resource recovery park will put it in layers and put any trash on the bottom, yard trimmings on top of that, and different types of materials, reusables on top, and then offload them at different stations at a resource recovery park location that's divided into the different components that you're bringing there. They can then also shop for different products. At the Monterey Resource Recovery Park shown on the slide, they have what they call the last chance mercantile, where reusables are put aside and people are able to buy it like at a thrift store. And it really is a great benefit for a public to take home good stuff after they've dropped off the stuff they don't want. By having lower waste fees for recycling, reuse, composting, through the price signals by design, you can encourage people to segregate their loads like I was describing earlier. In those buying at the reusables, you can buy that at discounts at these thrift store type of operations. The resource recovery parks can support existing businesses, provide a place for them to have additional activities, or attract new manufacturers to the site if you have enough land or surrounding it. Oftentimes you'll see with the resource recovery park bring a lot of different pieces together. This is a graphic illustration developed by Nancy Gurrell with Urban Ore. When Urban Ore, under Rick Anthony's leadership, was part of a feasibility study in the Waveney area of the United Kingdom. And as part of that feasibility study for developing a resource recovery park there, Nancy put this nice graphic together. It shows on the left the residential cars and commercial vehicles coming in with the 12 market categories of materials, of reusables, metals, glass, paper, polymers, which is plastics, textiles, chemicals, wood, plant debris, putrescibles, which is food scraps, soil and ceramics, which is things that are breakable, brittle, like bricks, concrete, asphalt. Those 12 market categories, and then people would be going on the inner circle to drop off first the reusables, which have value, some of which they might actually be able to sell, then dropping off recyclables, then dropping off compostables, which there may be a scale house at that point where the facility charges a fee for accepting the materials for the creating compost and soil amendments, and then ceramics as well, and an educational center in the center of it. With around the outside, you have the commercial vehicles on the orange areas, picking up the materials that are collected, separated, processed to whatever degree the space allows, into the products that the commercial trucks would take away to the next location. And around the facility, you see the creation of a variety of spin-off businesses that are particularly of interest, supporting local agriculture, local thrift stores in Berkeley. Urban Ore estimates that they support over 100 different other businesses that upgrade the materials that they and products that they sell to sell them at a higher profit by just better displaying them and with more targeted marketing for them, supporting antique stores, recycled stores, used appliance stores, things of that nature. So this is a great diagram of the concept of the resource recovery parks. On this slide, we're showing that underpinning the whole idea of the resource recovery parks is having shared services. So why is there naturally evolving the co-location of these activities? It's because it's hard to site new facilities anywhere. But in addition, if you do, as we're suggesting by design, you're sharing the space, you're sharing facilities, operating equipment like equipment that moves materials around, balers, other types of processing equipment. You have maintenance and repair staff being shared, pollution controls, expertise like financial, legal expertise, PR and advertising, promoting your activities, government affairs and permitting, helping to get the permits you need to expand your operations, and other professional services. So all that sharing of those resources is a way of leveraging smaller businesses to grow in this nurturing environment. A typical place for resource recovery parks are at existing transfer stations or landfills or nearby them. Some have been developed in urban brownfields, vacant lots, urban redevelopment buildings. Urban Ore in Berkeley is a good example where they took over a 3-acre former manufacturing facility and redeveloped that. And interestingly, in going into that facility, they got a lot of assistance from the City of Berkeley Economic Development Department. Public Works was not particularly active in that effort, but it was the economic development staff that viewed this as a great benefit of creating jobs for the community and keeping a vibrant business nonprofit effort going at that site. Sewage treatment plant buffer I added to the list based on a proposal in Western Australia where a wastewater treatment facility was considering resource recovery park as a great thing to put around the wastewater treatment plant because they were concerned about the intrusion of housing coming closer and closer to their plant, which would be incompatible with their operations. So using it as a buffer location was the idea. Don't know if that ever went forward, but a similar location is in San Jose, California, where the Zanker Road Resource Recovery Facility, cycling facility, is located right near the sewage treatment plant in a similar type of operation. And having rural regional facilities is another possibility. Del Norte County is a good example of that, where more than 2/3 of the population don't have curbside collection, so they have to self-haul their materials to a particular location. And so that's a great example. The picture on the slide shows the San Luis Obispo Resource Recovery Park, which they built in front of a landfill for just $100,000 by just paving the area and putting up concrete block dividers between the different categories, the 12 market categories of materials, and charging an additional fee to go into the landfill on top of what would be paid to go to the resource recovery park to encourage financially people to put their materials in the right place. On this presentation today, we have Pål Mårtensson, who's one of the fathers of resource recovery parks in the world, developed a fantastic program in his home country in Sweden, and he could speak more to that and any questions that may come up. Last small idea is in many urban areas where self-haul may be more than the 66 to 70% self-haul that I was talking about in Del Norte. In the urban areas, it might be more like 10 to 20% self-haul. People bring materials to a facility. The idea of resource recovery centers is a corollary, has many of the same potential as the resource recovery park idea. And this is an example of one a picture of one in El Cerrito, California, that's got all the 12 market categories with different containers on a really cool design and layout for that site. I always conclude my presentations, if you're not for zero waste, how much waste are you for? hopefully some of you will be able to answer that. So I don't know if we get to hear from people, but if you do, I want to ask you, how much waste are you for? You're supposed to say zero. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We have a couple minutes left for questions, and there are a couple in the chat that I'll go ahead and ask. And anybody have any other questions, please go ahead and feel free to add those. So a question for Paul. Paul, do you have any contact with Sustainable Coastlines, Sea Cleaners, Keep New Zealand Beautiful, or their Government of Conservation in other cleanup organizations in New Zealand? And then a link has been provided to you. So do you have any contacts there, or would you like to make contacts? I know that if you were invited to New Zealand and we could fly again, you would totally go there.
That's for sure. I will do that. No, we are working with Ocean Conservancy and a lot of coastal cleanup organizations all over the world also. And but we like really to be in contact with people from Australia and New Zealand. That's for sure. So please just send them a message on our webpage, and we will contact anybody who's interested.
Okay. We have another question from, oh, this was a comment for Neil. So I think you said that solid waste is the easiest environmental problem to solve. And the comment was, we have some ingrained mindsets and habits to change, which isn't easy, but we can do it. So that's a little feedback for you.
Yes, I appreciate the feedback, and it's absolutely true. It is hard work to change people's thoughts and daily habits. We as organizers have no choice. We have to keep trying. If we give up, they'll bury us in garbage. But I appreciate the thought.
So we so much appreciate, in wrapping up, appreciate the opportunity to commune with New Zealanders and be with you today. So thank you so much, Dorte, for the invitation.
Oh, thank you guys. It's been amazing. What an honor to have so many of the great zero waste minds and also hearts. Like, I'd just like to acknowledge that it's not all about what you know, but just kind of the persistence and passion that lies underneath. So that was amazing. We've learned, I think it's just, really like to acknowledge how much you've shared in terms of your experience and learning, and it's been super inspirational. And I hope that our Zero Waste World Summit is probably, the beginning of some sharing and connection between you guys and us all the way down here. Once you guys can fly, you guys organize some stuff.
I have a special message for you, Dorte, please.
Great. Okay. So we do need to end the session because we've got another one coming up in half an hour.
Good luck.
Thank you. See you. Take good care, everybody. Nice seeing you.
Bye, everybody. Nice seeing you all.
Half an hour on zero waste culture. So we'll see you there. See you guys.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.